Okay, so, and welcome back. Yes, this is the afternoon after the day before, so which was yesterday. It could be tomorrow, I don't know. Time's relative on YouTube.
Hey, welcome, thanks for stopping by. It's time to learn with our friend Clive. So grab your brush, have a great time.
But what I've done, as you know, we put the gesso on here and we went to town, and that was the first stage, so I had to give it 24 hours really to dry off. Now, I've reset the palette, so let's have a look at the colours I'm going to be using in this particular session today. And yes, we'll get down to that straight away. I think it's a good thing. Let's not waste any more time, Clive. Just get to the palette. Okay, as you can see, I've got the colours going up the right hand side of the screen in a normal way. I've also got them on the cards, but there, if you want to have a look at them during the painting session. But we've got the CADMIUM red, CADMIUM yellow, yellow ochre, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, VANDYKE brown, burnt umber, raw sienna, and some hookers green. Yes, and that's all you need to worry about. Brushes, I'm going to talk about the brush selection as I actually go through the painting, because I don't know what brushes I'm going to be using at the moment. So if you want to grab yourself a pen and paper, or a pencil and a notepad, if you want to write them down. And I don't put these in the descriptions because it's just a lot of work, really. Yes, so if you watch the videos, and just make a quick note of the brushes and the canvas sizes, etc. I put the canvas size in there, put the paints in there. I don't really bother with brushes, to be honest with you, because I don't really know what I'm going to be using half the time myself. And so okay, now I've got some of my medium mix formula there. A quick chat about that. That is just a formula that I've come up with myself, and it's got a bit of the resin base in it, and a couple of other things as well, and that basically stops the bonds of the acrylic paint from breaking down, because you're not supposed to thin acrylics more than 45%. So there we are, it's as simple as that. And the other thing I'm going to be using today is some of my liquid clear. There you go. Now you can do this painting without any of my products whatsoever. Now the reason I'm mentioning that is because I've had a couple of emails and saying, all you're trying to do, Clive, is push your product. Yes, I am trying to push my product. I'm a human being and I need to make a living. However, you don't need my products to do a painting in any way, shape or form. All I'm saying is, this is my wet on wet type of technique. It's a technique that I've developed through acrylics, and it works better with the stuff that I've developed over the last several years, and it's taken a long time for me to actually get to the stage where I am with the acrylics, and they work best with some of the products that I've developed. But I will talk about the conventional way as I'm painting this, and try that, please. I'm not asking you to spend money. I don't want to do that, but if you want to, then that's your choice. But I'm not forcing any of my products on anybody at all. So but if you want the best result, then obviously, like all the other companies out there, you're better off sticking to one particular product. This is my method. It's a wet and wet technique, and works better with my formulas. That's all I can say. But please go ahead and try. Let me know how you get on if you do try other products. That's all I want to know, and that helps me improve my products. There we go. So we're all one big happy family here on Clive's 5 Art. So I got a little tin. I'm getting myself about 4 squirts of my liquid clear into that, and whatever I don't use I can put back straight into the bottle. That goes a long way. Okay, now first thing we're going to do is pick up, there we are, we've got a short flat, that's 1 inch, and I'm just going to go straight into some of my liquid clear, and I'm just going to go over the canvas completely. There, I'm going to go halfway down, because you can do that. You don't need to do this all over the canvas. Just do the bit you're actually working on, and that way then, if for any reason that it does decide it wants to dry out, you can come down to that at a later stage. So this is not like painting oils. This is not the liquid clear that you can use on the Bob Ross wet and wet technique. This is an acrylic based liquid clear. It is not oil based. Please do not mix oils and water based paints together. They will not work. Now, saying that, you can put gesso on the canvas and put oils on top of it, that's fine. But acrylics and oils will not work together. So I'm putting a nice coat of my liquid clear, which is an acrylic based, over that. Now if you feel as if you put a little bit too much on, get some kitchen paper And very, very lightly, just remove some of the excess off that. You don't want a lot of this. All you're looking for is to make a nice slick surface, so the paint will actually go onto that. All you're looking for is to keep the surface of the painting wet, and this will keep the painting wet for quite a while. I'm not going to say exactly how long, because it differs from country to country and place to place. Now, using the same brush, I'm going into a little bit of phthalo blue, not a lot of paint on my brush. I'm just tapping that in. I'm just getting a bit of kitchen roll, just tapping that in, and I'm going to go into the top right hand corner, and I'm just going to put that on and see exactly how that is. And you can see not a lot of paint. Go all the way over the whole painting. You can take a little bit more, you can put a little bit more on. Acrylic paint is not a firm paint. Phthalo blue is transparent, by the way, but acrylic paint is not a firm paint. You can thicken up your acrylic paints. There's different things out there you can actually get and buy on the marketplace. I actually got a thickening agent, which I do actually use to thicken up my paints on occasions if I'm doing mountains and things like that. But you don't need to do that. If you've got a nice, decent paint, then you'll find that working in this technique is okay. So I'm picking up a little bit more of that phthalo blue, and I'm going to bring that straight down. I'm going to cover all the area, even on the trunk of the tree there. I'm covering all that with some phthalo blue. Because if you put yellow on top of blue, it goes green. It certainly does. Now this is a lovely technique. And what I'm going to do now to make that look brighter, I'm going to go into some Prussian blue. Again, get some Prussian blue on my brush. And I'm just going to go into the corners, just the edges, across the top, down into here. Get a bit more Prussian blue. I want this nice and dark in here. Put a little bit of Prussian blue down there like that. Okay, so wash your brush. I'm picking up another, exactly the same type of brush. It's a short flat. And I haven't put any titanium white or Mars black actually on my painting, on my palette. So I'm just going to add a little bit of titanium white. Now titanium white is very opaque. That means you can't see through it. And this is a good thing to develop bright spots. And this is exactly what we're going to do now. I'm going to get a small amount, don't overload this brush, a small amount of white paint. And I'm just going to pick a spot, and I'm just going to work through little crisscross marks like that. I want that mist, that bright spot. I'm not going to do the deer, or the deer. It is a deer. It is a deer. It is a deer. Getting a little bit more paint on the edge of my brush, and I'm just going to crisscross that again. Now if you didn't want this to look so bright and you wanted it a little bit more hazy, then use a little bit of zinc mixing white. But I like this particular method because as it comes around and through the trees, it starts becoming, just taking the excess off your brush, it starts becoming opaque enough, transparent enough, sorry, that you can still see the trees through it. There we are. Very lightly. Just bring that through like that, and that's all you need to do really. You can bring a couple of light rays through if you wanted to, like that. And again, make sure your brush is nice and clean, and then just very, very lightly, just brush that through like that. And if you wanted to diffuse that even more, then you can get yourself one of these. This is called a deer foot. Okay, it's a very, very soft brush, and all you've got to do is just tap, 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 and that's going to diffuse that brightness. That's all we need to do as far as that is concerned. There we go. Now put that straight in the water. We're going to wash that and dry it pretty quick. Okay, now what I want to do now is bring a little bit of green into these trees areas here, and I'm just going to pick up another short flat. I got one here somewhere. There it is. I got another short flat, and instead of picking up the green, I'm just going into a bit of yellow, very small amount of yellow onto my brush like that, and I'm just going to go very, very lightly, very, very lightly, just bring in a little bit of yellow into that grass area there, which is going to mix with the blue and go green. There you are. It's basically a glazing technique. I'm going to move my head a minute because I can't see, because the lights now are picking up on this reflection. It's basically a glazing technique. So you've done all the hard work, you've done all the underpainting, you've done all that, and all you're doing now really is putting washes or glazes of colour. Bring a little bit of green in there like that. And if you wanted now, you could pick up a little bit of Hooker's green. If you just wanted to darken a couple of areas like that, and just basically glaze over what you've already painted. You've done all the hard work, so we need to darken this particular area up here. You've done all the hard work, that's all we need to do. We can bring in some lovely details in a moment, but this is a lovely, lovely way of actually bringing some beautiful colours. And easy painting. If you've never painted before, this is what you can do. I'm picking up a little bit of yellow ochre. I'm going to bring a bit of yellow ochre down here. Now we haven't put the liquid clear on down here, so got to be careful you don't go too far. Picking up a little bit of that yellow ochre, just darkening a couple of areas like that. That looks good. So a little bit of colour, a couple of little bits of tiny difference of colours. That's all you're looking for, is difference of colours. There you are. Put some up in the trees by there. You can see that looks really good now. So I'm just going to let that dry for a minute, I think, and decide what I'm going to do next. Now what you can do with this, if you wanted to, in that particular instance, now you can either dry this off with a hairdryer, which is good, okay, because you couldn't do that with the oil-based one because it takes days to dry. Now you can dry that off with a hairdryer, and then we can just work on that section, and then we'll come back in later and work on that section. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I wanted to show you the flexibility of this. So we've got our liquid clear on. We've played around with that. You can play with that as long as you want, possibly up to 2 hours. So there's plenty of time not to worry about things. Okay, so get it right. But if you want to go into that now and start putting a little bit more detail in, as we're going to do with the stag, etc., let's dry that off. It's not exactly dry, but it doesn't matter because that's okay, because I want to speed this process on. Now, you can see that the sheen has gone off that now, and it's actually dried back matte. That's what acrylic does, it dries dull. So what we can do to get the luster back later on, we can put a coat of varnish over this, is what we're going to do. So what I want to do now is work on the actual deer herself. So I've got a small, tiny filbert brush there. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this burnt umber, I'm going in with a dark colour first, and you can use a touch of liquid clear with that if you wanted to. There you go, just to let it smoothly run on the canvas, and you can get that nice smooth flow of paint. So I just need to paint that on. It's just a block out of colour. So starting with a darker colour first. Don't forget, she's actually behind that bush there. We can put a little bit of detail into that bush later on. So you can use a little bit of matte medium, or you can use a little bit of liquid clear. It doesn't matter, you can use either. If you're using the liquid clear, what you'll find is the paint will actually take a little bit longer to dry, so you can use it like a little bit of a retarder. I advise you not to use too much of it, otherwise your paint might not dry. Yes, so be very careful with it. It's a universal thing, in fact, but be very careful, because that's the last thing you want now, is for your paint not to dry. So just blocking in the deer. And the reason I come up with these formulas, I've been trying for years and years and years to get acrylics to work the way I want them to, and I never found a way of emulating oil painting truly with acrylics. And unfortunately for me, I suffered terrible with problems with my chest and all the chemicals and the fumes off all the turpentine and stuff like that, and I had a little bit of dermatitis on my hands through the oil paints, and I was quite sad when the day came that I had to give up my oil painting. And I decided at that particular day, just picking up a bit of burnt umber, VANDYKE, that was VANDYKE brown, sorry, a bit of burnt umber now. I said to myself, I am going to go on a mission to see if I can't get my acrylics to work similar to oils, in a similar way, because I used to love the Bob Ross painting techniques, and I've done a lot of that. A bit of yellow ochre and a little touch of white. Let's get a bit of touch of white. Let's just change the value a bit. When we say change the value, I just lighten up the paint a touch. And it took me a long time to get to know how to use acrylics, let alone trying to find products that I could work with. And I was very fortunate that I've got a friend that works in paint manufacturing, and for a large company, which I haven't mentioned before, but for obvious reasons I can't say which company. And I get all these products given to me, and so I can play with, and I know how things are made, basically. So I try to use that knowledge to benefit not just myself, but for you as well. So if I can show you a little bit of the painstaking agony that I've been suffered over the last several years, if I can pass that information on to you, I'm really, really happy to do that, because I know that it's going to improve your paintings and your artistic life. So I want you to do that. And so I was asked last year, in fact, and I can't say I was pressured, but my friend Dawn said, look, Clive, why don't you start selling some product and try and create some income for yourself, because you give so much time and effort to giving these free lessons on YouTube, and with very little return, which you don't get a lot of return actually on YouTube. So I thought, okay, I didn't want to do that. That wasn't what I wanted to do, but it happened, and I'm glad it did, because I got a lot of family members out there now that buy lots of product off me, and I'm quite happy to keep doing that, because it's helping my time in the studio. So the more money I can generate as far as that's concerned, then the more time I can give to my art lessons. I'm just putting some VANDYKE brown, because these lessons do take a long time to video and to produce, etc. And I'm not preaching or trying to sell anybody anything. That's the last thing I really want to do. But we've all got to make a living, haven't we? We have. And that's all I'm trying to say. That's just the point I'm trying to get at, is we all got to learn a living. And you know, I stopped teaching. I used to do classes, and I've stopped all that, so that's a revenue that has come to the end. And I can concentrate solely onto my YouTube lessons now, rather than actually teach themselves. So, you know, I gotta make some sort of revenue from somewhere in order to carry on doing that. But there we are. That's enough of me. You're not here to listen to me waffle about that. You're here to learn to paint, and this is what we're here for today. So I'm just building up a couple of different colours, trying to get some sort of a shape into our little deer there, and I'm going to leave it at that for the moment. And I'm going to pick up one of my brushes that you've seen me use so many times before, and this is just a natural bristle brush. It's a filbert, and it's been distressed, and etc, etc, etc. So I'm going to pick up a bit of VANDYKE brown, just pure VANDYKE brown onto my brush. I'm going to put a little bit of Prussian blue to that. Just want to make it darker, a little bit of hooker's green. Just darken that up, tapping it on the brush, tapping it in the brush like that. And I'm just going to pick up a couple of darker spots here. I just want to put a bit of texture in, because we've done a lot of the work. We don't need to do a lot of this. Don't overdo this, you'll spoil it. And then pick up a little bit of hooker's green. Let's put a bit of hooker's green over there. Let's get a little bit of yellow ochre into the hooker's green. There you go. Just mix that on the brush. Take the excess off, mix that on the brush. Always take a little bit of excess off your brush like that, because you don't want this soaking with paint, otherwise you're not going to get the effect that you want. And then just put in a bit of highlight, constantly reloading your brush. Put in a bit of highlight here and there. Keep under there dark, look. And if it's not bright enough, then go into a little bit of yellow ochre. Change the flavour up a bit, and let's just put a little bit of highlight on the tops of these, like that. There you go. And just play. There we are. And in fact, let's get a little bit of yellow into that. Let's mix the yellow to that. Now, we mix in the green, okay? So if we take that smallest amount of red, that's what the red's there for, and that's going to colour that down. It's going to knock it back. It's going to dechromerize it, desaturate it, not make it look so bright, because it's a complementary colour, and complementary colours desaturate or dechromerize other colours that they're complements. Like if you look at the colour wheel, you've got orange and blue, so if you mix an orange to a blue, it will dechromerize it. Red and green are complements, so by mixing a red to a green, that dechromerizes it also. So we can put some not so bright, but just slightly different colours there, like that. And let's just get a smallest amount of white. Let's change the value. Let's brighten and sparkle that up a touch. There we go. And just put a little bit of highlight here and there, and then you like that. Like this, just singing through. There you go. Just singing through and catching a couple of leaves, one thing or another. That's all it's doing. That's all going to be in shadow over there. A little bit of light over there. There you go. And that looks good so far. Yes, it does. Now, I got another short flat here. I'm going to have to wash my brushes in a minute because I'm running out. So I got another short flat here. I'm going to go straight into some VANDYKE brown, and all I'm going to do is find the path now, and I'm just going to drag through like that. Bring it up there like that. Just dragging through, and this is a dry canvas now, so we've got the ability now to work with a dry canvas. We were working on a slick canvas earlier, the beginning of the lesson, but this is all nice and dry now here. semi-dry because I didn't dry it properly, but you know what I mean. And let's just put a little bit of brown in like that. Let's get a little bit of this raw sienna, and then just very lightly drag a little bit of raw sienna through like that. Just make a couple of, don't worry if there's a little bit of dirt in there, you can put a bit of dirt in there. Look, let's put a bit of raw sienna there. There we are. See, this is how things develop. Let's just put a bit of mud there, and let's just bring a bit of that down like that. All you're looking for is little light marks like that. Just like there's a light that's just catching on a little bit. Okay, let's put that in the pot, and let's get a bit of Vandyke brown. Let's put a bit of Vandyke brown over there. Oh, it's too wet. I put a bit of Vandyke brown over there. Put some Vandyke brown over there. Okay. And let's just go into get that on there like that, and let's go into a little bit of yellow ochre. There you go. A little bit of yellow ochre. So you've got Vandyke brown on one side of the brush and yellow ochre on the other side of the brush, and then just basically put in a couple of stones like that. Couple of pebbles here and there, making sure that's nice and thick on there. Just a little bit more yellow ochre, and making sure the yellow ochre is, let's get a bit more on there. Let's make sure the yellow ochre is to the top. Okay, the yellow ochre to the top, Vandyke brown to the bottom. So when you do that, you get stones with little highlights on. And if you've overdone it a bit, don't worry, it doesn't matter. That's okay. That's okay. Just put some pebbles in. Just make it look as if there's a couple of stones here and there like that. What we can do, if you've made them a little bit light, let's we can just put a couple of more pebbles in. But if you make them a little bit light, we can cover those over later on. There we go. Just put a couple of stones here and there like that. That's fine. Just do the bottoms of their foots like that. Brush that in like that. So we've got a couple of little stones and whatnots, and there we are. So let's get a bit more Vandyke brown in there, a little bit more yellow ochre, and let's put a big stone there, a couple of big stones on the bottom of this tree like that. There you go. And if you're not 100% happy with them, they're a bit bright, well, we'll sort that out in 1 second. There we are. So take any excess off your brush and just move them through like that. Don't worry too much about it, it doesn't matter, because that's all going to be grass and everything around here shortly. So it looks as if there's a couple of stones and one thing and another there. Now let's get a little bit of Vandyke brown. Let's darken in this area there, because I want to make it look as if there's a bit of a root on a tree, and there's a bit of raw sienna there like that. Bit of yellow ochre. Yeah, blend that through. I just want to make it look as if there's some sort of a possible hole or little rabbits in there or something like that. Just make it look as if there's something there going on there. And what we're going to do now is go back into this brush and make sure this brush is nice and dry on my kitchen paper like that, because what you don't want is a lot of moisture in this paint, because it's not going to do what you want it to do. Now again, back to this section, again into the same paint that we used earlier, put a little bit of Hooker's green. Let's get a little bit of phthalo blue, not phthalo blue, sorry, Prussian blue into that. Let's just darken that up. And let's put a couple of bushes now in front. Let's go into that bit of that yellow ochre again. If you put too much paint on your brush, take it off. That's why I've always got a little cloth there. I'm sorry, Tina, I'm destroying your cloth you've given me with my lovely name on it, but that's what they're for. So let's put a couple of little highlights in there like that. This is going to be quite dark around here. So we don't want to worry too much about that. This is about a learning experience rather than an accurate painting. That's what I say sometimes, just to get away with it. So just put a little bit of a sparkle. That's just that. I like this, just slinging through there, just catching a couple of these little tiny blades of grass. Look, there you go. That's what we want. That's what we want. And let's put some tufts of grass in here and there like that over them rocks, because them rocks are buried in that grass, and then flick up like that. And then we can pick up a bit of hooker's green and the same brush. Put some green in there like that. Here and there. Don't do it all. Don't overdo this. Don't overdo this. Try not to overdo this, because there's going to be a lot of dark areas in here as well. And as we come down here, this is going to be slightly darker, so that's going to set that off anyway. So you want to show a couple of these rocks, but also you want to try and cover a couple of the rocks. There we are. So they hide. Yes, they do. Let's go back into that dark colour. Let's get a bit of Vandyke brown in there. And let's just do this bush. Put the dark in first, because you've got to have dark in order to show light. So let's just put a little bush coming through there like that. And think about shape and form. A little bit of Vandyke brown again. A little bit of Prussian blue. Let's just darken that up. Straight into that tree. Don't worry about the tree. That's a trunk. That's a tree trunk. A bit of Vandyke brown, a bit of Prussian blue. Let's just there we go. Let's do that. And let's put another one there. Bit of Vandyke brown, bit of Prussian blue. There you go. We just cause a separation then, like that. If it's not dark enough, just add a little bit more blue. Okay. Now we need to let that dry. So I'm going to do that and wash my brushes, and I'll be back like that. Okay, and I washed my brushes using the 2 pail method. Yes, I got a dirty water and clean water, and I run it through some soap. So I'm just going to show you that very quickly. So as you can see, I got my dirty brushes in there, and that's my dirty pot. This is where I put my dirty brushes. And acrylic paint does actually settle to the bottom of a pail, so be very careful if you leave this stand overnight, because it will pick up a lot of sediment on the bottom of the pail. So it's always advisable to wash that out. So I just get the excess off the brush. I'll rub it on some kitchen paper towel, and then I go into some soap like that and work that right into the bristles. Now there's a video on this. If you want to go and check that out, I'll put that in the iCards. I'm going back into the dirty water once more, and then taking the excess off. I'm checking my paper towel to see if there's much sediment on it. I'm going straight into some clean water. And this is warm water. I don't use water to thin my paints. I use a medium mix formula. Never use water to thin down my paints unless I'm using a wash. So I'm going over my paper towel. There's no pigment coming off that. I'm confident enough that it is clear. I'm putting that into my brush rack, which we lay them flat until they dry, and then we'll stand them upright in a container such as that. So never put them in there wet, because the glue is going to soften up. There you go. So let's get back onto cleaning these brushes. Okay, so I dried that off. It's not 100% dry because there's a lot of thick areas in there, and acrylics dry by forming the skin, yes. So just because it feels dry, it doesn't necessarily mean that the underlining part of that paint is dry. It can take 2 weeks to cure, believe it or not. Okay, so let's go into a little bit of yellow ochre. Let's get a bit of hooker's green. Let's just brighten our green up a little bit of yellow, a little touch of red, just to get that lovely dechromerized green. And let's just put a couple more light bits there like that, just to cover up the foots. Okay, now let's go into here. Let's do the highlights on this particular tree that we put in with the dark. Don't kill all your dark. Think about where the highlights could possibly be on you. Don't want it too light in there. You want to leave a bit of dark area in there. Again on this little bush. And again on this little bush. Okay, let that dry a minute. Now, I wanted to show you, didn't I, that instead of using liquid clear down here. So what you do in that case is that you get some medium mix formula or water. Now be very careful when you do this, because this is just going to be a wash, and we'll start off with a little bit of hooker's green, and we'll just make it a very thin wash. Now if you're using ordinary water, there's a possibility this will flake off because you're using more than the 45% rule. But if you're using a medium mix formula, which is my formula, then that's not going to happen, because it's actually got resin in it, which is going to prevent the molecules from stretching too much and falling apart. That's basically what happens. Now you can put just a plain wash on like this if you wanted to use that method. So you can see you're using exactly the same technique without the liquid clear, and it's only fair for me to show you that you can use other techniques, but if you just use plain water with this, then you're going to find that there's a possibility it will peel and flake over time. And the other thing you want to notice is that is not as bright or as vibrant as those colours there, even when they're wet. But you've got to constantly be making this up. So there you go. Let's make it a little bit thicker down here. But it can be done, and I've painstakingly worried over hours and hours and hours and paintings and after paintings after paintings to get this particular method right. And all I ask you to do is please do not think that I'm again trying to sell you something. These are free lessons, and I just love to help people. But all I'm saying is, if you want to give my products a try, please, I invite you to come along to the website and order some. Ask for a free sample. I'm quite happy to send you a free sample of something. If you place an order and you want a free sample of something, then please ask, and I will do that. But as you can see, that's already started to dry, whereas the liquid clear was remaining wet for me. So you've got a little bit less time to play with than what you would normally do. There, let's put a bit of dark in there like that. So I just wanted to show you that yes, you can possibly do it that way if you really wanted to, and have fun. That's all I want you to do, is have fun and enjoy painting. Don't want to worry about anything else. So I'm making up a little bit more dark and a bit of the VANDYKE brown. If you haven't got VANDYKE brown, just add a little bit of black to burnt umber. All you want is a dark brown basically, so don't worry too much about Pacific colours. You know, I can't get VANDYKE brown in this country, blah blah blah, and which is understandable. But if you haven't got it, make some on your own. Just add a little bit of black, darken that, whatever brown you got, darken that up. So I'm just going to go around, I'm going to just put a couple of dark areas in. I'm using the template that we've put down now with these bushes. I'm just going to darken in a couple of little areas there like that. Just finding those shadows that we've already established with the gesso. I just want to darken up some shadow areas like that. Okay, so I'm going to go in to some yellow. I'm going to brighten up this green. Bit more Prussian blue. There you go. Let's try that. Let's see what that looks like. That's a little bit light. A little bit light. We want it a bit darker than that. Yes, we do. Let's just get a bit of red. Let's try that. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is we'll have to go into some dark. And I'm finding it difficult just painting on when I've just put plain water on it, because I'm not having that mixing. I'm not getting that blend. It's starting to go mushy and muddy. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's starting to turn into mud. And by mud, what we mean is that you've got all these different colours mixing together, and they go like a dirty colour like that. Now I wasn't getting that up there because my liquid clear was keeping the paints from doing that. It was actually stopping that blend too much, and you're just going to carry on with that. You can try and darken that if you want, but what you're going to find now is that's just going to go really muddy and horrible. There you go. See how it's going? You've just got no control, and that's one of the reasons why I actually developed the liquid clear. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to dry that with a hairdryer, and I am going to put some liquid clear over it. I'll show you the difference. Okay, I think that's sufficiently dry enough now, so I'm going to get my one of my little 1-inch squares or short flats. I'm going to go straight into some that liquid clear, and I haven't put any more in there. That's just what we put in earlier. I'm going to spread that across like this, and you can see it got an instant bright glazy effect on the canvas. It looks as if it's like varnish basically. It's not varnish, it's not varnish. Please don't think it is, it's not. This is something totally different, totally unique. And again, hopefully the paint is dried enough. Just take the excess off. Like, oh, that sparkles already. There you go. Let's take the excess off. Now I'm going to pick up my same brush. I'm just going to add a little bit more VANDYKE brown to my palette. There you go. And I'm going to pick up the same brush. I'm just going to make sure it's nice and dry. Remember I said make sure it's dry, or it's not going to work if it's too wet. Make sure it's nice and dry. Picking up some VANDYKE brown, some Prussian blue, a little bit of Hooker's green, mixing that in like that. Take excess off, and let's just do this bush again. Look, let's get some nice colour in there. Let's darken that a bit more. It's not dark enough. Just try and get rid of what we've already done. trying to cover that up now a little bit. Make it a little bit more like a bush type of thing. Okay, and then we're going to go straight into the same brush, a little bit of that colour we mixed earlier. And now very, very lightly you can see that it's not going to mush, because the liquid clear prevents that from happening. And then we get a little bit of yellow. Let's lighten that up. We want to brighten that colour up now. Let's brighten that up. Take the excess off your brush. Brighten that up. And it just makes that job so much easier. Painstakingly working with acrylics to get that. You've got to dry. It's a layer painting process, acrylics, but what I'm trying to show you is you can paint wet in wet without it going to mud, and that's all I'm trying to do, is show you that that can happen, that with this fantastic product that is liquid clear. It's one of the best things I've come up with, actually. You can get this lovely blend of colour without working too hard. That's all it is. It stops that dirty colour. Let's get a little bit of white. Let's sparkle that up a bit now. Let's brighten it up. I just want to show you that you can go into your final highlights like that. And it's not turning the mud. It prevents the acrylic from actually doing that. And that's all I want to try and show you, is that you can use water like I just showed you, and you've seen it actually mushing and turning into the mud. I'm just gonna, it's the artist coming out of me now. There you go. There's a little bit of a dip there, look. Right? We can there's a little bit of a dip there. There you go. Let's just bring that in. It's just darkening. Let's put a little bit of shadowing in there. And the more you tap this, the softer this is going to get. There we are. And I have to reiterate, this is not oils. This is acrylics, wet in wet. It is important that you know that. And let's get a bit of dark. Let's mix a bit more Vandyke brown, a bit of Hooker's green, a little bit of phthalo blue. Take the excess off. Always important, take the excess off your brush. And let's put another bit of grass shape there, like that. Again, pick up a bit of that green. My head is in the camera because I gotta try and see around the camera, so it's a bit difficult. That's going to be in dark shadow there, but don't worry. It's just, all we want to do is I'm just showing you a method. Not too worried about making things looking 100% accurate and that. We can always darken down the foreground in a minute if we wanted to do that. I can show you a way of doing that. Let's put a bit of dark in there now. There we are. Let's put the brush down. Let's get a bit of Vandyke brown. Let's put a bit of soil and stuff in there like that. It's a mixture of colours. There we go. Where's our little filbert brush that we used earlier? There he is. Okay, let's load that up with a bit of Vandyke brown, or just burnt umber with black, it doesn't matter. And then just go into a little bit of yellow ochre, and then let's just just drop in a couple of stones here and there. Put a big stone there if you want, big stone and a couple of baby ones, big stone, a couple of baby ones, a couple more stones there like that. Let's just drop that down, make that look into it. There's a bit of rock sticking out there, look. There you go. Bit of rock, bit of stone, another little stone there. Just pebbles and one thing another. Let's get these blending them in. If it's too bright, blend them in, blend them in. There we are. Let's just put a little bit of more highlight there. Representation, that's all you're looking for, representation of bushes and things. And blend in with your brush like that. And just get a little bit of this. If you wanted to blend that in, this is acrylic, so you can blend that in, look. Just a little bit of shadowing in there. Darken it up a little bit like that. There you go. Nice. Back into this lovely brush. Let's make sure it's nice and clean. Like I said, make sure it's dry. It's got to be dry. If it's not dry, it won't work. Bit of yellow, a little bit of white, bit of yellow ochre. Take the paint off. A little bit of light here and there. Just pull in and drag it up. Don't worry about this being light here now. This what I want to show you something in a minute there. Don't worry about this being light here. What we're trying to do is develop grass clumps of grass. So just pull up. Same brush as I done all that with. Look, it's the same brush. Just pull up. Just get a couple of highlights in there, in that grass area like that. There you are, that's looking good. And then going back into a little short flat, picking up a bit of raw sienna, bit of yellow ochre, and back into this path area. And let's just put a little bit of, taking the excess off, drag a little bit of colour through it now. Bit of Van Dyke brown. Put the shadows in. If it's too dark in there, just get a little bit of Van Dyke brown. Just dry brush. This is all dry. This is all dry, so you can dry brush in a bit of shadow in there if you wanted to. I'll show you how to do a bit more shadowing in a minute. There we are. So that's starting to look quite nice. Okay, now we're going to go into very quickly. I'm going to get some Van Dyke brown onto my palette, and again very quickly we're going to do this big tree on the side here now. And I'm going to just pick up just another inch square that we did earlier. I'm just going to go straight into some Van Dyke brown, and I'm just going to just pull that down like that. Just put some paint on the canvas. That's all you're going to do, is just drag that down. Bring that foot out there like that. It's his big root, that's what's holding him up. We'll bury that into the ground in a minute. And there's our little tidy little hole under the root of the tree there, look. Just concentrate on just on that a little bit. Don't worry too much about by here. And then just pull that into place like that. Just get a little bit of that blue and mix that blue in to the edge of the tree. This is Prussian blue. Mix that into the Van Dyke brown. Darken that Van Dyke brown up. We're not using black, we're just using a blue there. A little bit of blue in there as well. And then let's get some burnt umber now onto the brush. Tapping the brush down, just very loosely loading our brush up and then just drag down very loosely some little marks like this. Now you'll see me doing something very similar to this on the Halloween painting I did. Put a little bit of texture in. This is thick bark that we're trying to paint, so just put a little bit of texture in there, and use a brush like that and try and drag that through. Don't do in there, leave that nice and dark in there. This is just a first part, a highlight that we want to put in, a little bit by there, just to show that that is a root that's come off the tree. And then just drag a little bit through there, and then go back into yellow ochre, get some yellow ochre on the brush. I haven't washed the brush, so don't worry about that. Now again, very, very lightly, very, very lightly, very, very hardly touching the canvas and just letting the paint come off the brush like that, and try and develop some bark effects like that. Don't worry if it looks a bit bright. That's okay, that's fine. We can get around that in 1 second. This is a good technique to learn. So we've got all these different wonderful ways to actually play with acrylics. And I suggest you don't think about painting too much. Think about having fun. When we were children, we didn't worry, did we? We just went with paints in our hands, and that's to enjoy art. The art of acrylics, the fun and joy that acrylics will give you, is that feeling of when you're a child and you get that wonderful moment when everything starts to fit in and work, and you stand back and you go, I did it, I actually did that, I actually produced that work myself. What a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Wonderful feeling is art. Okay, so what I want to do now is get a very soft brush. You know, you don't have to do this. I'm just using a soft brush, and I'm just gonna very, very, very lightly, very, very lightly just caress the canvas, and I'm just gonna merge. There's hardly any pressure to this brush. Hardly. I'm just caressing the canvas now, and I'm just merging that in, like that. Now you can do this as a winter scene, as a summer scene, as an autumn scene. It's fine. We were going to do a winter scene, if I remember rightly, but we can turn this into a winter scene. That's easy, and we'll do that in a second, I would imagine. So just very, very lightly caress the canvas, get all those colours actually blend together. Follow the run of what you're trying to paint, blend it in, and then very, very lightly just keep doing that, and you find that all this is starting to merge together and get nice and tree-like, and that's what you're looking for. There you go. Now with this brush, do we have to clean it? No, let's get a couple of different browns by there again. Let's get some Hooker's green in that, and let's just put little bits of grass here and there like this. Because there's a different pattern with this brush. Let's just put a couple of clumps of grass in. There you go, easy as that. Clumps and clumps of them. There we are. All little clumpy bits. Just put a couple of little bit of highlights in them like that. Don't want much, just enough. Use the skills that you've developed now through the painting to do this. And if it's wrong, if you feel I don't like it, don't worry, dry it off with a hairdryer and overpaint it. That's all you've got to do. You can't really go wrong. And I suggest that you practice and practice and practice and practice and practice and practice. All of a sudden you'll find that everything was going to fit into place, and you've laboured so hard over. And all I'm doing now is picking up a little bit of... My phone is going off. Can you hear it vibrating? I like ignoring people when I'm painting. Don't let anything disturb you. That's what I say. Don't let anything disturb you. Just enjoy the process. You can always ring them back. It's not the end of the world. when I was a child, we had to have we had to run to the phone, which was up the street, or borrow our neighbours. We never had phones when we were children. We had to go and borrow Mrs. Clark's phone, because she was the only one in the street that had a phone. So there you go. I don't like phones. I'm only got a phone because I've got one because I need one, basically. So let's just put a little bit of light spots here and there like that. Let's just pick up a little bit of light. There you go. We can put a little bit of snow in here later on if we wanted to. If you could turn this into a snow scene quite easily if you wanted to. Maybe the first snows of winter. There we are. We can put a little bit of snow on these, or you can put a little bit of snow in here and there. I don't think I'll do that today. I think I'll just leave it as it is, because we're just going to overcomplicate things. Now I'm going to dry that with a hairdryer, do a little bit more work on Mummy Deer there, and then I'm going to do the baby deer in the corner. So I'm going to dry that off. That's going to take me a while. Spinny camera. That's going to take me a while to do that, because this is quite it's gone a thick painting now, but as you can see, it's starting to look really nice. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've dried that, and I've also just put a quick outline of the little fawn, because there's the mother and there's the baby, and I thought I'd just do that in. There will be a tracing on Instagram for that. Okay, so let's look at our palette. Let's put a little bit of moisture. I've picked up just a detail brush. It doesn't matter what size. I'm going to pick up a little bit of Mars Black, and I'm going to add a Mars Black to the palette. You know, only a touch, because this is going to be my shadow color. So thin a bit of my medium mix, and I'm going to make a little wash of that. There we go, a nice thin watery wash. 80 to 20, 80% medium mixer formula to 20% pigment or water, but be careful with that, as I've said. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to wash in areas of just black wash like this, and all that's going to do is darken down or shadow the bits that I want in shadow. There you go. Just putting a little bit of shadow in there and just darkening down. Now you can do this with oils, but obviously that obviously that you've got to wait for the oils to dry before you can actually glaze, but this is dry now, so I'm just going to darken in some shadows. That's all we're doing, is dropping in shadows like this. And all that's going to do is just give that little feeling of depth, really. That's all we're looking to do there. Just going to shadow this in like that. Here and there and there and here. And what you can do, you can get a slightly bigger brush, and again a wash of black, and you can actually put that all over the foreground. All this is nice and dry now, and that's going to darken down the foreground. So if it's a little bit bright, let's mix a little bit more. If it's a little bit bright, then you just need to darken it down, because it's going to be quite dark in here. There we are, because that's going to be all in the shadow and shade. And again, into that tree, a little bit of white coming off my deer. Don't worry about that, it's not dry enough. So okay, it's just darken down. And this is just a wash of Mars Black. In this case, you can use Carbon Black, Lamp Black, any black really, for this effect. And again, into the tree. So we got a multitude of glazing techniques going on here. You can actually use the liquid clear for this this technique as well if you wanted to. You can do that, that's fine. You can mix a bit of liquid clear in with the black, and you can get your shadow colour. You could bring in a little bit of Prussian blue into the black, and you can make that a blue cast shadow now. You can make it a nice lovely blue colour. just put a little bit of blue in here and there and there. Just darken that area up. There you are. We can darken that side of the tree if we wanted to. Let's bring in a bit of extra colour. And if you've gone overboard, get a little bit of tissue paper. Just remove it a little bit if you wanted to. There we are. There's another little technique for you. Just trying to show you all these different methods. All I try to do here is show you a way to paint. And you can scrumble it in like that if you wanted to. Oh, my molly's barking now. To darken up a couple of areas, you can just just scrumble it off. Just lifting a little bit of paint off, that will just give it that bit more of a thing. And using the same brush, why not? At least using the same brush, let's go in a bit of green and let's just put a little bit of different effects there. Picking up a couple of different yellows, a little bit of green. Push down, lift up, push down, lift up, push down, lift up, push down, lift up, push down, lift up. There you go. Nice. Okay, now let's get any brush, it doesn't really matter, does it? Let's get a raw sienna now. Raw sienna, a little bit of white, I think. Raw sienna, a little bit of white. Let's just block this in very quickly. Just a block in of colour. I'm going in a little bit white at the moment because just picking up a bit of Vandyke brown just to separate that line so I don't lose it. And this is just a block in of colour. So a lighter colour will take on colour a little bit better than a darker colour. So if we try to paint directly onto the green area, it would take a couple of coats. So it's a good idea to actually, if you can, just put a bit of a lighter colour in place and then that'll adopt whatever colour you're going to put on it a little bit easier. 35 years experience, yes, and over 10 years of that had been in acrylics. There's quite a lot of painting I've done in my time, a lot of painting in fact. I'm just going to darken that up a bit more now with some Vandyke brown. So I just want a definite difference. I want to find his ear and his head. And painting with the shape of the fawn. A little touch of black just to put his nose in. I've already established a little bit of his eye, so just take your time with this. This is a wonderful painting if you take your time with it. This is a wonderful painting if you do it right, and I can trust me. I've seen things like this very similar. I've sold something very, very similar to this. As I said, I had this this painting of this fawn on another painting which I painted and sold, and well, as soon as I put it out on the market store, it sold. So these things will sell. People like deers and things like that. And you can turn this into a winter scene if you wanted to. It could be spring, it could be autumn, it could be summer. You want something that won't age, really, don't you? Yes, you do. So let's harvest a bit of colour. Bring a bit of that raw sienna back in now. Still a bit wet. I'll dry that off with a hairdryer in a minute. Okay. So we got a mother looking for the baby, and he's running around, and he thought, I'm going to curl up and go to sleep over there. Let's just get a little bit of blue and a little bit of that black wash that we did. Let's just put a little bit of shadow under him right over here now. Let's just settle him down into the ground like that. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to clean my brushes once more. Okay, so what I want to do now is just got my script liner brush, or it's not a script liner brush, it's a rigger brush or a script liner brush. There we are. And I'm just going to go in a little bit of Van Dyke brown. There you go. Just make it nice and thin, and just twisting the brush to get it to a nice sharp point. And then I'm coming in, and I'm just going to put a few branches and twigs here and there, like this. You can add a little bit of, let's get a little bit of that white and raw sienna on there as well. You can put a couple of the brighter ones in. There you go. And we could put a couple of branches here and there. You can put as many or as few of these you want in your painting. This is your painting, so you can just add them wherever you want, and don't overdo it, I would say, but just make it look natural. That's what I would say. Just put a little bit of highlight on that tree, a little bit maybe there. Try and make it look as natural as you can. That's what we're trying to do. Is try and make things look natural. There's nothing worse than trying to see something that just looks out of place, basically. So if that's a little bit dark, you can always lighten that up a bit, or you can always lighten that up and darken it off. It depends what you want to do. In this case, I'm just going to put a little bit of Van Dyke brown on there, just because it looks a little bit light. There you go. And you can do the same then with the hooker's green if you wanted to. This is going to dry dark, this might disappear, so just put a few blades of grass with a hooker's green like that, just because you're not going to see much of that when it dries back, but you will just about see it. There we are. Now what we can do is we can add a little bit of white to that just to brighten that up, and now we can put in a few blades of grass here and there. This is all about detailing work, and as I said so many times in the past, you've got a lot more time than I have. I try to keep my videos to certain lengths, and sometimes I have to split them over 1 or 2 series, but that's because of just the way YouTube works, really. So there's always a little bit of grass that pops out under these rocks, so find a couple of rocks and put little bits of grass in there and here and here and there. make it look natural as you can, as I said. And all this will add to the illusion of depth, dimension, perspective, composition, balance of a painting, because your eye is automatically going to be drawn to him at some point. You're either going to look at her and come there, or you're going to look at there and come there. So it depends which way you perceive it. But when I'm looking at this, I will be drawn in that way personally. And just do as much or as little as you want, really well. Let's just get a little bit more Van Dyke brown on my brush, and then just put a couple of stringies coming off this tree, bits of loose bark, as you inevitably get on pine trees and things. You get all these little wiggly bits coming off like that. And as I said, it just adds to an illusion that this is not just a load of paint on a canvas, it is actually a tree. That's all we try to do, is trick people into thinking that it looks like something when it doesn't. That's all it is a mixture of paint. But it's our perception of a mixture of paint that gives us the ability to see things like this. Let's just put a couple of little highlights in here and there, like that. Just flick through, there you go. And all we got to do now is basically concentrate on our little fawn. Okay, so what we want to do now is actually paint our fawn in, and I'm just going to pick in a bit of this Van Dyke brown, stroke, burnt umber. I'm just going to mix a couple of them together, and I'm just going to take the excess off my brush, and I'm just going to go in with that colour. Because fawns, they tend to be like a very light, like a bit like a raw sienna type of colour, I would say. Very, very light brown. There we are. So just basically go over what you've painted. And there's a bit of Van Dyke brown, a bit of burnt umber, and then just lay that in there like that. Because that bit there is going to be a little bit lighter than that bit. We want to darken it up. I just add a touch of black to the mix. There we are. Just darken up a little bit there like that. Just trying to get a little bit of contrast in of colour. Don't want it all one colour. You want some bits a little bit darker than others. So just be wary of that. Just concentrate on that. There we are. Just basically bring that in. We can lighten the head up a bit. Just picking up a bit of raw sienna. I'm not washing my brush now. I just want to lighten his head up. He's going to be a little bit in shadow. It's going to be a bit darker down in this area here. And we need to bring a bit of white into the mix now, because in here he's going to be white. Just pick a bit of hair there like that. That's his ear basically. Just put a little bit of white in there like that. Touch of black, will darken that mix up again, and then just underneath here, let's just darken up his features there. Darken his tail up a touch. There. Bring a little bit of white into that raw sienna. Just lighten that raw sienna a touch. Not too much, not too much. Just enough to get a little bit of contrast on his head like that. There, nice. Bring that raw sienna in around. And spend a little bit more time on this. You've got a little bit more time than I have, as I said. My little Molly is barking out there tonight. I think she wants to come in the studio. There she is. Don't know what she's barking at. I think Boo's out there trying to play games with her, I think. And she's a wonderful little puppy. She's been with me now for about 7 months after my Dilly dog. And if anybody's been watching me since the beginning, you know Dilly used to join me in the studio. So I'm just waiting for Molly Moose to calm down a little bit now, and then she will be joining me in the studio, I'm sure. So I'm picking up a small detail brush, a tiny detail brush, just into some titanium white. I'm just going to put some little marks, because they got dots on their backs. Little marks here, little flecks down onto the leg. Take a little bit more time and care than I've got. I just want to try and get a representation going here on this little poor little deer. Well, it's not poor, he's sleeping. I'm just going to pick straight into some black. I'm just going to just put a little line like that, because the eye's not open. Yeah, I'm just tightening up his nose, picking up a bit of raw sienna now, and just going over that white a little bit there, just to close down that eye. Yeah, look as if he's sleeping. There we go. A little bit of white just on the top of the eye there, like that. Let's put a couple more dots here and there. I bet his mother's wondering where he is. Certainly is. And then what we can do, we can go back into our brush that we used originally for doing all the foliage work, and let's pick a bit of this brown up, any old brown now. Let's pick that up, bit of Hooker's green, sorry, a bit of phthalo blue, Prussian blue, bit of Prussian blue. Let's darken that up, and let's just put a couple of longer bits of grass in, because he's obviously treaded this down a bit and he's trying to hide himself, as they do in this section. And we can pick up a little bit of yellow ochre just to emphasize that there is some bushes and grasses there. Not too much. Think of shape and form as you do this. Just drag that across like that. Just pull that through. There you are, just smooth that off. Let's go into a bit more dark and then just put some grass here and there. Just a little bit of texture. Just a little bit of texture there. We're just about ready to call this one done, I think. So what we could do then, we could actually varnish this if we wanted to, and that would put a luster on it. I'm not going to do that at this particular moment in time. Why? Because it takes about 2 weeks for this to actually go off, basically, to cure, and that's not what we want. We want to make sure that it's completely 100% dry before we put any varnish on it. And when we do that, then all these colours are going to shine through really nicely. So always bear that in mind. You can use a matte, a satin, or a gloss, or you can mix a matte and a gloss together, and you get a satin finish. That's even better. If you want to give me a like, comment and subscribe, and yes, please share my videos, that would be great, and thumbs up is always welcome. So all I'm going to arrange me to do today is I'm just going to go into this corner with a little bit of white, and I'm just going to put a little monogram by there. You can use any signature in any colour, it doesn't really matter. You can sign in any corner of the canvas. and I think we'll call this one done. So all it remains me to say is thank you very much for joining me in the studio today. My name is Clive from clivesart.co.uk, and have a good day, good week, a good month, a good year. God bless. And because you know time is relative on YouTube, so I will see you on the next session. And take care, my friend. Bye bye. Nice.
And don't forget to click subscribe. Visit clive5art.co.uk.